Okay, so now we are taking, as I mentioned, the next step forward. And I want to make sure everyone who needs translation has it. We've got a couple of people who aren't here yet, but I hope they'll come in. So we've spoken about philosophically, who do you say that I am? We have spoken from Revelation. Who does he say that I am? Now we're going to look again, following upon what Dr. Rodriguez talked to us about. We're going to look at the world and what's happening right now. And I think it's important to look not just at the West, but we're going to look right here, right around us here in the Middle East, and at least touch some of the topics that these women face in what they do. So I want to introduce firstly Hania Bitar. She's active in forming youth, especially young people. She's a journalist, a business manager, a translator, an English teacher, and she is and has been involved with a number of important organizations. And so she's the founder and general director of the Palestinian Youth Association for Leadership and Rights Activism. And it's a Palestinian media and communication. Okay, so it's oriented on the youth. It's an NGO and set up for them. So she's done a lot of work with them. She's the founder and editor-in-chief of something called Crossing Borders. It's a regional bi-monthly youth newspaper. And it's a print platform where young people from Palestine, Israel, and Jordan can dialogue, agree, disagree, exchange ideas, visions, facts, and in an effort to bridge dividing relations, which is an issue here. And we didn't say this with all of our presenters, but this is actually a common theme, a common thread, even with our brewmaster yesterday from today. It's one of the main things that she does. She's also the Youth Times founder and editor-in-chief, and that's a Palestinian bilingual monthly newspaper. It's a cultural milestone, actually, in the Palestinian media scene. I'm going to read this because I think it's pertinent. It's the first and only comprehensive monthly for Palestinian youth. And the paper is not only considered an advocacy tool for youth rights and needs, but a vehicle and a platform where young Palestinians between the ages of 14 and 25 actively and instructively participate in developing their society and in setting the basis for a more promising future. Print media in Palestine. So she has a lot of experience with youth. And as I mentioned, she has degrees in English and international studies, and she's been recognized with a number of awards and recognitions, and I am going to insist on mentioning them. As I mentioned, a founding member of the Palestinian Youth NGO Network. She's been recognized as a young Arab leader from the World Economic Forum, a global leader for tomorrow of the World Economic Forum, and a member of the International Women's Media Foundation. And she was also the recipient of a Fulbright scholarship. So she is quite a person. I'm very happy that she was able to come. And you may have seen her husband also here, so he's enjoying Magdala. He doesn't want to watch her. I'm not sure why. He prefers to rest. I also want to introduce Anita Cadavid. They're both here at this table. Anita is from Colombia. She holds a bachelor's degree in education and development and religious sciences. She also is licensed in philosophy with a specialization in anthropology at the Pontifical University Regina Apostolorum. She is a current PhD candidate in humanities at the University Francisco de Vitoria in Madrid, Spain, and has worked in education and schooling and followed the training of young people and couples. So she's also here because she's currently directing the Instituto de la Donna, the Women's Institute in Rome. And so within the Institute for Higher Studies for Women, she's a member of the coordinating committee for the work and research group, and it's called the group, Being a Man, Being a Woman. And she does a number of related training activities. She's the chairman of the steering committee for the working group Value at Work. And she is also, well, part of this is called the person at the center. So that's why I'm glad we have this up on the board still. My hair's falling down. Yeah, sorry about that. Anyway, she has been a director of this institute since 2019. And she is also a member of the council of Ecclesia, which is a magazine on Catholic culture. So we want to welcome them as we begin our conference with Hania.
afternoon, everybody. And I'm really glad that we have a good audience, despite the fact that it's the afternoon, so some people would like to relax. Is the issue, actually, and Sister Theotokos talked about it, how Mary didn't compromise her virginity when she was pregnant with Jesus. And again, this issue of compromising one's woman's virginity is a very big issue in the Arab world. So if a woman compromises her virginity without marriage, really it's an issue that deserves something called honor killing. So many women, unfortunately, there are women organizations and human rights organizations who follow this issue of honor killing based on a woman compromising her virginity without marriage. The second issue I also want to tackle is the issue of homosexuality. Homosexuality in the Arab world is also a taboo issue. It's something that derives disgrace, dishonor, lots of bullying, lots of hate speech. And again, if a homosexual, he or she are not like in hiding or secrecy, it might also derive lots of penalty. Now, both those issues actually also abide by your financial class or status or your education. So if you are a homosexual or you compromise your virginity, but still you are from a middle or higher class or educated, you will find solutions. But if you are from the lower class or poor class, penalty is waiting for you. A third issue where we have people will take the law into their hands and might even execute death is the issue of collaboration with the enemy. And in our case, as Palestinians, our enemy is not Israel, it's Israeli occupation. So collaborating with Israeli occupation is a big issue in Palestine. Now, for other crimes, if you are a thief, people will say, well, he's in need. If you are a drug addict, it's a personal issue. If you are infidel and you're a man, he's a man. He has to try something. If you're a woman and you are infidel, you're a whore. But if you are a corrupt person, you will get promoted. So choose what you want. So this is just like a small background to keep in mind. Before we discuss the main topic of the challenges facing women in the Arab world, current challenges. And to start with, I will focus first on challenges pertaining to feminism before we move into issues pertaining to femininity. And of course, attending many of the lectures, this made us rewrite and do so many things. So the original thing that I wrote has been rewritten over several times. Now, of course, as a Palestinian, we are proud of the fact that Palestine is much better off when it comes to the movement of women that fights for women's rights in Palestine. So we have strong women movement, we have very courageous and women leadership who has been trying to really change the reality on the ground. Not now, after a while. No problem. And of course, women throughout our history as Palestinian nation under occupation, they used this platform of joining the revolution or the national struggle in order to make their way and fight for their rights. So the political sphere and national sphere was actually a good entry point for many Palestinian women. And women through, of course, when you are under occupation, you have all the time to fight, not only the occupation, but your own authority and the patriarchal system. Because again, our authority as Palestinians is not God-given. So we have lots of struggle and fight with them in order to ensure our rights as women. So despite the accomplishment that has been achieved, like for example, we succeeded eventually to bring up the age of marriage to 18. We managed to secure a good quota for women in the elections of the local councils, but still, always our authority puts, the Palestinian Authority, unfortunately, puts restrictions or exemptions. So, for example, in the issue of raising the age of marriage, because we didn't want young girls to be married before at least 18, so there is an exemption. So, for example, you can be a father and you can go and whisper in the, in the ear of the sheikh or the imam for the Muslims, and you can say, my daughter compromised her virginity, so the sheikh will say, okay, come, we will do the marriage. Or you can say, the husband, he's in a rush, he cannot wait because he wants to take her abroad. Again, there's an exemption. And and again, even when on the political level with the quota for women, we have tribes in Palestine, so big families. So they can make arrangements and then they can say, okay, we keep those seats for those women in exchange for other things. So despite some accomplishments, unfortunately, the exceptions ruin the joy of the success. Now, of course, despite those achievements, unfortunately, we have to admit that our authority, our Palestinian authority, has been very reluctant and very obstinate when it comes to legislating laws and legislations pertaining to the rights of women. So they have issued many legislations, but when it comes to the issues of women's rights, you will see lots of hesitation. And mainly because they know that their supporters belong to Islamic groups. So they don't want the Islamic groups and those believing a lot in traditions and customs to be standing against them as a ruling party. And when we look actually at the Arab world in general, we can look at some Arab countries where there has been some success stories. So, for example, if we look at Tunisia, Tunisia has been one of, I will not talk about all the Arab countries, just some highlights. So Tunisia has been a real success story until recently. So during the times of the previous president, Bourguiba made a political will to introduce changes on the ground via laws and legislations. So he made lots of introductions related to the rights of women, to equality, and this affected the culture, the arts, the literature, the involvement of women in social movements and in political movement. So there has been, Tunisia became like the idol in the Arab world until unfortunately, we had the Islamic parties taking over in Tunisia, and again, they abolished many of those legislations. So during Bourguiba, young girls were not allowed to put the veil at school or in the public places. But now again, with the Islamic parties, again, girls have to put on the veil if they want to. And so, like, also if we look at other countries, like let's say, for example, in Jordan, it's only it's very close to Israel and Palestine, and in Jordan we have very strong Islamic movement, and this Islamic movement, it's all the time trying to control the lives of people, not only the women, but also like those voting in general. And this is why they cannot be proud of saying that we have really impacted or affected laws and legislations for the sake of women in Jordan. Morocco recently has started to pick up. So we have started witnessing, of course, it's nothing in comparison to Tunisia years ago, but we started actually witnessing positive developments in Morocco on the level of laws and legislations pertaining to the rights of women. But in general, really, we you cannot now, when we listen to what's happened, what has been happening in the West, and we've been for the last couple of lectures, you cannot really wait or witness real change if there is no political will to introduce those changes in the legislation. And women cannot really fight and for their rights and play the role that they deserve in the society if on the private sphere there is no development in order for her to really also have an impact on the public sphere. So you cannot expect a woman to nominate herself for a political position or a big social position if at home, she has a husband or a father or a brother who is all the time trying to control her life and make decisions on her behalf. So this is why it is interrelated. Now, this is just like a mild picture of women in some of the challenges that they face, and of course, all the time things affect women, whether we are talking about economy, political participation, social, cultural, and different levels. Now, this general introduction, takes us now to the other level that I want to discuss, which has to do with the issue of femininity. But rather than talking about femininity, I want to really share with you some of the big issues that are playing a role in the Middle East in general, not just in Palestine, but in the Middle East in general. And we will start with the first slide. CEDAW. How many of you know CEDAW? Raise your hands. How many of you know CEDAW? Do you know? Have you heard of CEDAW? No. Okay. So CEDAW, thank you, Kathleen. You will take the prize today. So CEDAW, it stands for Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women. This is a UN resolution, and it was actually adopted in 1979. And it's considered the International Bill of Rights for Women, and it was ratified. So 189 countries around the world actually ratified this CEDAW. Now, if you go to the Arab world, CEDAW is like the most popular enemy, in the Arab world, and I will tell you why now. Now, when this CEDAW came into, when it was published and people started to adopt it, to sign that, yes, we believe in CEDAW, we want to be members, there was an option of actually agreeing but making reservations. For example, Israel was very wise. They ratified the agreement, but they made exceptions. So there were few articles that they said, no, we don't accept those, they have to be reconsidered. The same with other countries. Palestine, we were eager just to join international agreement. So our authority signed, and now we are paying the price. So the thing is that CEDAW should be an excellent thing for women. But in our context, as I said in the very beginning, there are certain issues which are a taboo, like homosexuality, premarital sex, all those issues which are embedded in CEDAW, in addition to many other great things. I mean, like when it comes to the right of women in education, in health, in participation, because it's accompanied, there's another UN resolution for women political participation under 1325. So many other articles became nonsense when in the Arab world they see, sexual freedom, children without marriage, homosexuality. What is this? This is an agenda from the West to destroy the Arab culture. Those international organizations and women organizations, they come and give money to our local women organizations because they want to really destroy the fiber of our society. So this is why CEDAW has become a very critical issue. And now we have certain women leaders who are excellent leaders who have been fighting nationally and for women's rights and on all levels, but now they are called the CEDAW women, those women who wants to destroy the Palestinian society. And they are being named by name individually and with their organizations. One of those poor women, her name is Randa George Senora. Palestinians, we are Christians and Muslims. The majority of Palestinians are Muslims, but we are Christians. I am Christian myself. My husband is Muslim. Eliane is Christian herself. So this women leader, because the name George, Muslims don't call George. So immediately, they don't say Randa Senora, they say Randa George Senora. Aha, George, this is a Western name, a Christian name. So they affiliate her with the foreign agendas of you trying to destroy us in the Middle East. So this is why this issue of CEDAW, it also reflects the power. I think also in Europe, fascism is coming, unfortunately, back very strongly in many European countries. And in the Arab world, the Islamic fundamental extreme groups, are coming very powerful, and they are represented in many factions. Like in Palestine, we have a group called Hizb al-Tahrir, which means the Liberation Party. And this Liberation Party, it really wants to take us back to the Middle Ages, and to have like the Islamic rule. So they don't believe in many of the issues that many of us stand for when it comes to rights and so on. So this issue of CEDAW is making lots of women under real threat. And what adds to the problem is that our Palestinian Authority, our leaders, are not taking a strong stand. Unfortunately, for political reasons, they keep their eyes shut, their mouth closed, and they don't care about what is happening in the society. Now, what also combines and adds to the problem is that when we look at many international organizations who come to help us as Palestinians and many other nations around the world, they come, and for years now, they have spent billions of dollars to empower women, to make women leaders know their rights and advocate and want to change the laws and the regulations. So we have lots of strong women, but they have been working with them in isolation of the whole society. So unfortunately, they didn't work along with the men, with the young men, with the taxi drivers, with people in the market, with regular people. So you have the women fighting for their rights, and the rest of the people as if they are coming from a totally different planet. And this created a big gap. Recently, just a month ago, UN Women, this is like the major UN agency for women, woke up and they discovered the millions of dollars that have gone into making change for the rights of women is not paying off. On the contrary, it's boomeranging. We are going backwards in a very drastic manner. So they invited lots of organizations, not only women, but other organizations to discuss what is happening and to come up with an action plan in order to try to save the situation. So I'd like you to consider this issue of CEDAW and international regulations when it comes to how we view women in our countries. The second, you are so nice. Okay, how many of you know Netflix? Wow, everybody, do you know Netflix? You follow Netflix? Okay, so for those who don't know Netflix, Netflix is a streaming service where you a wide range of TV shows, of movies, of documentaries, you can watch, and many of them are actually the production of Netflix, and for very low price. So you make a monthly subscription, and it's very reasonable. And it was established or founded in 1997 by American entrepreneurs. Now, for those who watch Netflix, there has been actually lots of promotion of homosexuality. So everything you watch, there is this very nice, kind, homosexual person in the films or whatever. Now, for us in the Arab world, as I told you in the beginning, homosexuality is a taboo issue. So we are used, for those of us who were watching foreign productions, we see homosexuality portrayed in different films and so on. But what Netflix is doing, now they are having local Arab productions portraying homosexuality as well. And recently, there was this actually, series, it's called Best of Friends. And one of them actually turns out to be a homosexual. And of course, it made a fiasco in the Arab world. The critics, the writings about it. So this is like a very bold issue. Of course, it doesn't mean that we don't have homosexuals. Of course, we have homosexuals. But to try to institutionalize the idea and mainstream it, this is something unacceptable in the Arab world, and it caused lots of fiasco. And in fact, if you look at the literature pertaining to Netflix, you will find lots of questions raised related to what is really their agenda, what is the role of Netflix when it comes to the issue of homosexuality. If we, okay, TikTok. How many of you know TikTok? Okay, so TikTok again. TikTok is social media, and it is actually the destination for mobile videos, for those who use the mobiles to make video. Now, TikTok has become so famous in the whole world, actually. The highest number of followers are in the US. I think with more than 100 million subscribers to TikTok. Now, in the Arab world, imagine it's even above 100% in the United Arab Emirates, 103% in Saudi Arabia, and those are samples of the percentages of penetration of TikTok in different countries around the world. Now, what's the problem with TikTok? Imagine the creators of TikTok abolished it. It's not allowed to have TikTok in China, and but in the Arab world, and I think in many countries, young people and even adults now spend so much of their time on TikTok. It's addictive. I got addicted to it as well. It's so much fun, so much, and you don't feel how the time passes. But again, at TikTok, there is a live streaming. So all the time you have the live, people coming out live, and the craziest you are, the more odd you are, the more queer you are, the more followers you have, the more money you make. So somehow those queer people on TikTok, and of course the topics are nothing enriching, nothing that can be talked about. So, but they are making lots of money, and unfortunately, they are becoming the role models. So many young people want to follow suit. So even if you are a transsexual or a homosexual, and you can show your real identity on TikTok, and you have sympathizers, but also lots of people who are attacking you and defaming you, but you are becoming famous, and the more followers, the more hits, the more whatever, you make lots of money. So again, how is TikTok shaping our identity, whether you are a woman or a man? How much really you are like becoming in line with all those new trends that are mainstreaming social media. If we go to the, I will help you when it's your turn. I will tell you just a small story before we go into this issue. Actually, when I was young, long time ago, one of my classmates with whom I was close, she all the time she was like informing me, I dated this man, he's cute, he's blah blah blah, so she was telling me what's happening with her emotional life. And actually, she was a classmate of Elian and myself, but maybe Elian doesn't know the story. But anyhow, so this classmate, one day, I remember we were sitting in a cafe, and she opened up to me, and I wish at that time she didn't because I couldn't sleep for a week. And she told me that she discovered that she's a lesbian and that she's in love with another Palestinian girl. And for me, oh my God, what is she telling me? How should I respond? To tell her my true feeling, or just to share what she expects from me, the support she wants? And of course, she was traveling outside Palestine to continue her studies. And she expected me to take care of her mom, her elderly mom. And yes, I was visiting her mom, but her poor mom, all the time she was saying, when my daughter comes back, we have to find a good husband for her. We have to find a good husband. And I was like really pitying the mom, like, what can I say to her? And she was like all the time, like, who's there around as a good husband for her daughter? Now, the issue of homosexuality in Palestine, of course, it's there, and it's also like in many Arab countries. Here we have the percentage of homosexuality in many Arab countries, like in Algeria, it's 26%, in Morocco 21%, in Sudan 17%, Jordan 7%, Tunisia 7%, and if we go lower, it's I think Jordan, Lebanon 6%, and Palestine we are 5%. Okay, at least we are the least in the Arab world. But the thing is that now this actually, and the following slide, okay. So it's not just an issue of people who affiliate themselves with homosexuality, despite the fact that it's a taboo. So when you have those numbers, it shows that people are confiding with researchers, but not maybe with their own community. And in many countries in the Arab world, there are organizations affiliated with Western organizations, and they have their local branches or even independent branches, but with lots of funding and support, who take care of those who view their sexual identity differently. And a famous organization in Palestine is called Al-Qaws, which is rainbow, the colors of homosexuality. Now, Al-Qaws, which is the rainbow, it's the only Palestinian organization that cares for LGBT. And actually, when they started they were like having every Thursday of the month a big party in Ramallah city, and all the homosexuals were coming from different parts of Palestine to celebrate. But when their issue, this issue became known in the society, people started attacking the restaurants with stones and put fire on it. And the Palestinian Authority wanted to abolish their activities. But then, of course, the Western world interfered, and they said, if you don't give them their space, no aid will come to Palestine. So again, now they are into action, but with a lower profile. In Gaza Strip, of course, you will be imprisoned if you are caught practicing homosexuality. And in fact, this is very true, because as a youth organization, I dealt with a number of especially gay young people who, the Palestinian society was not tolerant, so they seek asylum in Israel. So Israel gives them access to come and live inside Israel, to work and to live a normal life according to how they see it. So again, this issue, actually, when lately Israel hosted the Eurovision, a famous Palestinian singer called Bashar Murad, he is gay himself, and he had lots of supporters from the gay community around the world. They came and they were in the midst of Eurovision in, I think it was in Tel Aviv. And this gay community, so for us, they are political allies, but sexually they are not acceptable. So, but they even raised the Palestinian flag inside the Eurovision in Tel Aviv, which was for us Palestinians, wow, what is really happening? So they are very courageous and outstanding and so on. And it was due to this Palestinian singer, and it plays on different levels. If we can move to the second slide, the next slide. Okay. So the next slide, we are almost finishing. It has to do actually with feminism versus femininity. Usually, we have this traditional way of looking at what femininity, how femininity is symbolized. And for us in the Arab world, and maybe it's around the world, it's more the angelic type, like an angel, very cute, very beautiful, but with very modest features, And then the feminism, it's more the strong, will-powered, always with a loud voice. Oh, glasses maybe. Okay. So this used to be how people looked at femininity versus feminism. But what is happening nowadays, I think it's a confusion or a mixture of what comes next. People trying to look alike. So now the module of femininity is not the angel type. It's more the very seductive, sexy type with inflated lips and enlarged breasts, and I don't know what's happening in the back, and all those issues. And in the Arab world, unfortunately, Kim Kardashian, I think her sister, in the Arab world, plastic surgery is unbelievably so high in percentage. People spend lots of money. They travel either to Turkey or to Lebanon or to I don't know which other country, maybe it's mentioned here, and they spend lots of money to change their features. And what is ironic is many of them are religious. So they would fast and pray, but still refuse God's creation, how God created you. And they try all the time to look like famous singers. This is a famous Lebanese singer called Haifa Wahbe. Now, if you go to the streets, you will find so many identical people looking like Haifa Wahbe, because she symbolizes this seductive beauty. So unfortunately, this is what is happening. So many things that are so confusing, so distracting. So really, if we want to say who I am and where we are going, what the future holds for us, I think even when we look at the past, maybe we are trying to decipher, to understand, to analyze. But the basis is there to show, actually, with the theories that the first session and the second session, and really lead us into lots of ambiguity, lots of things that I don't know if we can really imagine where we are going with all those factors that I showed, some of them affecting women in the Middle East, in the Arab world. But imagine on the more global level what is happening. Thank you.
How much time do I have until half an hour? Okay. First of all, I would like to thank Kathleen and the Magdala Center for the invitation and the opportunity to participate in this wonderful encounter in which we find people from all over the world, and that I think is so enriching. And this particular thing of meeting people from all over the world is, let's say, the best part of all. So I'm going to share with you some of the ideas that we are working on in our institute in Rome, because challenges for women in the Western world, I think it's a very, very wide topic. We have some of the problems are common worldwide. Some of them are specific in some Western countries. So it's just, I'm going to share with you what, like, my experience with the people I work with and our research in the institute. So the first question is, what's the Western world? Because I was told to address the challenges for women in the Western world, but what's the Western world? How many countries does it include? So, and this, when just Googling it, it's really funny to find out that there's not a common ground on the topic. Because when you look for it, it comes to us the story of the Roman Empire divided by two, and that the territories that were located towards the sunset were the eastern territories, and the territories located towards the sunrise were the eastern ones, and the sunset were the western ones. And so this is still really, really ambiguous. And then, when you're looking a little bit deeper, some say that the Western world includes Europe until Italy. So excluding Greece, and Greece was has the roots of the Western culture, of the Greeks and the Romans, are the basis of the Western culture. So this kind of division excludes Greece. So what can we think? So Europe until Italy, with North American countries, USA and Canada, and some other thing that it's Europe, North America, and South and all Latin America. Some of them even say that Australia and New Zealand. So is it a geographical thing? So I would say, with some other scholars, that we speak about Western world as a cultural classification. It's not that geographical, and it comes to the countries who have had a big European presence, or European or North American, from the United States. But to this particular conference, lecture, or whatever you want to call it, I will frame it to Europe, the United States, and Latin America. I know it's very difficult because the differences are way too many, but there are common patterns, and that's the interesting part. So I'm based on research conducted by our institute a year and a half ago during the pandemic period, And this research wanted to deepen and analyze the situation of women in the pandemic period, specifically in Spain, Italy, Mexico, and Chile. So I think that can give us at least a big picture. And I also include for this conference some data from the United States that was available online. So let's begin. Okay, rest of the world. This book, I think there's still one copy there, so you can take it if you want, or if you want the digital version, I can give you the link to download it for free. So, okay, I'm going to divide this presentation into 3 steps, 3 kinds of challenges: identity, education, and workforce and politics. So, as I said, it's just I'm just sharing ideas. I wouldn't say that these are the only challenges and that's it. There's some of them, because if I could speak to any one of you from the so-called Western world, you could tell me many challenges that you yourselves face daily. Okay, so in a research conducted not long ago called "What Makes a Good Mother," it was said that facts that seem to be problematic for being a good mother. The first one, remuneration versus family responsibilities. It was said that if a mother is remunerated for her work commitments should not interfere with her family responsibilities, nor reduce the time and energy she has available for her children. The second one, continued attachment to the workforce, especially full-time employment, is perceived as detrimental to the children's well-being. The third, normative views of a mother's employment appear to be particularly challenging, as mothers often feel judged on how they balance their employment and caregiving responsibilities, and may feel pressure to conform to contradictory and conflicting expectations. I think this is important because in that research, it emerged that a common feeling between women who work outside their homes, guilt is a common feeling. They feel guilty. Of what? Of being outside. Because who's taking care of the children? But isn't there, and the father? Where is he? Doesn't he have the same responsibility as the mother? Okay, I leave it there. I leave it as a question. Okay, another one is, at the same time, colleagues and employers may view women who become mothers as less committed. And for example, here in this specific topic, in Italy, only the 6% of women return to work after their maternity leave, because it's so hard to combine the motherhood with responsibilities outside. So I think here the society is getting impoverished, I think. And another one is, if a woman continues to work after having children, whether full-time or part-time, she may be considered neither an ideal employee nor a committed mother. So those are like the conception and true strong problems that women are facing. And another interesting fact is that women tend to follow humanistic courses. And this is, according to the European Commission, this study was held during the pandemic period also, to see how women were impacted by the shutdowns. So 76%, and this is really way high, 76% of the healthcare personnel and those working in commerce are women. 95% of domestic care workers are women. 93% care workers for educational support are women. 86% of care workers in health field are women, and 82% of cashiers are women. This is a study held in the pandemic period, and I don't think it's far from reality. So another important fact. So to include also the USA, they find that there's insufficient childcare and caregiving support for mothers specifically. Also lack of access to flexible and remote work. And there's a big danger of widening the gender pay gap that it still exists right now in our days, even though we say that women have the same right to work and to be outside their houses, that the gender pay gap is still a big time problem. And the unconscious bias. And here, I will, with this insufficient childcare and caregiving support, I would like to return to what was said in the morning, that during the same period this research was held, 41% of working mothers in the United States said that they had to hide their caregiving problems from their employers. During this same period, women spent 3 times as much on unpaid care. And this shows that a culture of empathy and psychological safety is needed. Okay? So, another big challenge, and I think that we're working on that, but it's still a challenge, is equal responsibilities at home, the division of the housework. There's some data. Women with children, they at least the 91% of women with children, they work at least 1 more hour daily after work. And this, for example, in Italy, it varies from the north to the south. But in the south of Italy, it was even bigger because this is the unconscious bias that women think that, well, men are not capable of helping with the house chores, so then I have to do it on my own. And this is in Italian, you will understand. There's a phrase that says "Chi fa da sé fa per tre." If you do it by yourself, you do the work of 3 people. So this is the unconscious bias too, and this is, I think, on us women to help men, like to make them responsible too for the place they live in. Okay, so this data is according to the European Institute for Gender Equality. And another big issue on which there's a big challenge is violence, gender-based violence. It's sad, but it's still existing. And here the challenge is to develop a mutual, well understood complementarity and reciprocity with the opposite sex. In Europe, at least 1 in 3 women have suffered violence. 22% have been victims of domestic violence, and 55% have suffered from sexual harassment. In the USA, according to the US Bureau of Justice, it indicates that of the 100% of victims of IPV, intimate partner violence, 86% are women. And in Latin America, the data is a little bit confusing, but the statistics are not so clear because allegations mostly come from the women's inner circle, not from the victim herself. Nevertheless, it is known that these countries have high numbers and limited public structure to, to accompany them. So in this, at this, my opinion, and in the institute I work, our opinion is that we shouldn't present the relationship between men and women as a dialectic opposition. It's like women against men. We don't support that. We think and we really believe in that women should work with men together, and men should support women in their goals and their objectives, expectations, and so on. So, but here there's another big question. We have seen all this, and we say that, for example, in Europe, we are going through a demographic winter. And so, are there enough policies? And is motherhood a public or a private value? Till now, it is only private. But I think it is not only private; it's a public value, a public good. So, and I think to understand this, it's key to analyze and identify the goods that are at stake, and what are the goods that we are putting as opposite. Because motherhood is a good thing, and to work is also a good thing. Because working is also a way to exercise the human dignity, and we have that in the we as Christians have that in the gospel. The Son of God, he worked too. He worked as a carpenter, but he worked. So so that is for us important. There's also an interesting thing to reflect on, that the lack of support of a single parent, that right now in our days we have lots of single parents. It's not the burden, but the work they have to carry on, it's way too much too. And as I said before, in Europe, mothers face a higher risk of unemployment than men or women without children. As I said, only 6% of women return to work after maternity leave due to the high workload and the possibility of reconciling with family responsibilities. Okay. So here I say that there are two big challenges. The first one is to bridge the gap between the public and the private sphere, because we are one. So the maternity is a good thing. Working is also a good thing. Maternity develop mostly in problem solving, communication, teamwork. So, and these are the skills that right now in the workforce are the most needed. So we, as women, develop it through maternity. So that's a good thing. And the second challenge, to develop a healthy relationship between men and women, so that we, men and women, can learn that our affective, emotional, and social development is bound by a co-identity. And I think this is really important too. I mean, me as a woman, I develop my femininity also in front of men. I need men to develop my femininity, and men need women to develop their masculinity. So, and not only as a idea of gender equality, but a gender equality understood as an alliance between men and women. So, according to one of the researchers of our group, what should be promoted is the work-life balance, equal division of housework, and promotion of social services for children. So, here we come to our second big topic, which is education. Here we have to distinguish. Till now, in these Western countries, laws are we are equal before the law, so it shouldn't be any kind of discrimination. But the thing is that we need also not only formal equality, but material equality. And for example, and so I'm not going to center the thing, especially on the access of education, but on one of the big challenges we have right now, and that has grown bigger after the pandemic, and is the upskilling and reskilling women. What do I mean by that? We are facing a digital transformation in the workforce. So the work and after the pandemic is not as, and will never be as it was before, and we have to to be conscious of that and to act according to that. So, and to this digital transformation, women are really underrepresented. So according to the Global Gender Gap Report, only 14% of women are working in cloud computing, 20% in engineering, 32% in artificial intelligence and big data analytics, and 6% are software developers.
Sorry, is that as a percentage of the number of software developers, only 6% are women?
Yes.
Or is that only 6% of women are software? You know what I mean?
No. Of all the
Of
software
all the
developers,
only
only 6% are women. So here we have a big problem, and it's that digital transformation is reduced to the STEM careers. STEM careers are science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Okay, those are the STEM careers. But here, our institute and with other associations that work with us promote to pass from STEM to STEAM. And what does it mean, STEAM? With adding the A, it's like this A stands for arts, so the humanistic courses, to promote creativity with digital. So digital transformation with creativity and social development. So, and this would include the social commitment too. So imagine a new professional figure that is not only based on these STEM careers, but also that it adds the humanistic part to this new professional figure. And to this, I'm sure we as women can contribute a lot, because there's a big tendency for us on making and deciding to participate in humanistic courses. Yes. So in this, there are big challenges on upskilling and reskilling. So which are the policies that are needed? One is befriending technology. I recognize that sometimes I just don't have enough patience with the computer or with the things that don't function. But I know that I have to learn, and I have to say that technology is also my friend. Technology is here to help me. Also, extend the digital programs, and there is another challenge that is more of the mindset, and it's eliminating stereotypes in families about what a woman should or shouldn't study. According to Edith Stein, a woman can perform whatever job she wants to perform, but with the thing that she does it as a woman. So, and this is also interesting. And inclusive artificial intelligence, because this is also a big risk in the sense that it could be if, as we saw before, there are far too many men working on algorithms. So if there's a specific bias in these people's minds, there will be a kind of discrimination towards when that it's a scandal, but it still happens. In Europe, it's around the 13%, having decreased 2.8% in the past 10 years. And so women receive 87 units for every 100 units earned by men. In the USA, it's at least 7%, and in Latin America, it is a big rainbow. So, but more or less, it is 25%. So, for workforce and politics, there is a mindset to be changed to, as I said before, bridging the gap of the public and the private sphere. And this work-life balance is a good proposal. And one key to achieve this work-life balance is through smart working. I know smart working during the pandemic period was a little bit polemic, but the thing is that, well understood, it is much more helpful than what we think. So, because it aims to erase the connection between time, space, and input. So, it aims to form responsibility, goal orientation, communication, in problem solving in every member of the company. So, here we have great opportunity for women. As I said before, women can develop these soft skills in a much easier way. And also this formal and material equality. And to this one possible solution, I know that it's a little bit polemic, the North American, the North European proposals, but in Sweden, for example, they have an interesting thing that I think it is we should follow up, because they propose both parents together receive 480 days of parental benefit per child. In case of multiple births, an additional 180 days are granted for each additional child. So there's no bias for if I want to hire a man or hire a woman, because if the woman gets pregnant, the man has also the obligation of taking these days too. So in that way, it should be more equal and more just, more fair. So yeah, to conclude, the European Commission in this topic suggests that a work-life balance directive, gender balance on corporate boards, and a European care strategy, because the care work that is mostly developed and by women, it's undervalued, and it should not be like that. And so, to conclude, we should value care work on an economic and social level, promote the social importance and value of motherhood, and a fair housework division, because children need both their parents and society needs both genders to work together. Also, prepare women to face workforce through full access to education and the upskilling and reskilling, and bridging the gaps, the gender pay gap, the gender education gap, and the gender digital divide. So, we have lots of challenges.
For working together. I think it opens our eyes very much, and we can be united in supporting one another. Now, what they do in Italy with under the direction of Anita is extremely concrete and practical. And so what I wanted to recommend as well, on the back table, you'll find some things from the Instituto de la Donna. You can take these, please take these with you, share them out. That's why they're here. And some of you may have picked up some books that she did bring. Women Enhancing Work, Challenge 211. These are published studies. And then Body and Meaning. Now, they also have courses that you can have online. They have their first course in English, and most of them are in Italian. But this is something which is continuing to expand. And so I think this is a big future where we can actually help one another to be equipped to transform society like that. So thank you very, very much. I also wanted to point this out. This is something that our sisters have brought us. And it's the question right here, what is the true dignity of women? There's an answer back here. These are for you to take and to give out. It's a beautiful life that they live. And the truth on this side is something that we've spoken about during these, really it feels like 2 days already. And you have waded through an immense amount of water. You know how when you swim, sometimes it goes like in your, like all of your nasal passages, and you're just like, I just drank a bunch of water. Okay, I think you're kind of like right at that point right now. So what we're going to do is experience some of this together. We're going to pray together. On our schedule, the Kabbalat Shabbat and Vespers, Christian Vespers prayer is at 6. We're going to start at 6:10 sharp. I would like to meet you in the lobby so I can take you out to the first century synagogue where we can go inside. This type of prayer where we are welcoming the bride, okay, needs to happen before sunset. That's why we have it very specifically at this time. They've set aside the synagogue specifically for us. This is extremely exceptional. And we're very excited to combine the sisters singing the Psalms, and we are going to participate as well with the singing of the Psalms and the prayer in Hebrew. So I'm very excited about that. I do need to mention though, because we are able to go inside the synagogue, this is archaeology, and it's one of the biggest gems in the area in Galilee, okay? That means do not touch the mosaics, please. Don't walk on the mosaic. Don't take a mosaic. Are you kidding me? That's worse than picking a flower. I'm not going try not to touch any of the frescoes, and walk on the stones or on the dirt. Help one another. We will have stools for anyone who needs a bit of help, but we will start. I need to have you. I will go out of the lobby at 6:10 sharp with whoever is there. You'll receive your booklet. Rabbi and Yiska will help us through. And in your folders, you will find a peach-colored booklet. That is not for today, Father. So leave it there. That's for the morning. So no problem. So next up. So don't worry, we'll give you what you need for the Kabbalat Shabbat. You can leave your things here, except if they're valuables. And then after this, we will have dinner. So have a wonderful dinner. And I just want to ask you to spread the word to those who might not be here about the starting time. And our starting time for the evening in your schedules is at 8:30. We have a temperature change, which is pretty radical. We didn't expect this time of year. We will not be doing our wine and design outside, but we will start in the women's atrium, and we will start at 8:15. So I would like you in the women's atrium instead of 8:30. So after the Kabbalat Shabbat, have a wonderful dinner. And at 8:15, we will start in the women's atrium, and you will enjoy and participate in some wonderful music. And this is going into that whole artistic dimension of our women's encounter. 6:10, dinner. 8:15, women's atrium. That means in the Duke and Alton Center. Okay? All right. God bless you. Thank you so much for joining us live stream as well. And a big round of applause for our wonderful conference speakers.